Everybody, thank you for joining us here for International Human Rights Day. We're doing this news conference on behalf of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress National and the Ukrainian Canadian Congress Ottawa branch. We're here today to highlight the plight of the more than 90 Ukrainian citizens illegally held by Russia, imprisoned illegally by Russia. I'll introduce our special guests and then I'll introduce the short program. I'm honored that we have His Excellency Ambassador Shevchenko, the Ambassador of Ukraine to Canada, here with us today. We have Mr. James Vazan, Member of Parliament, Michael Levitt, Member of Parliament, Duncan, Member of Parliament, and Andriy from the Central and Eastern European Council of Canada. And at the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, we're very pleased that all parties in Parliament have been supporting Ukraine at this difficult time. On November 25th, in a deliberate and unprovoked attack, Russian warships attacked and opened fire on Ukrainian Navy ships in neutral waters in the Sea of Azov. At least 6 Ukrainian sailors were injured, 3 ships were captured by Russian naval forces, and now together a total of additional 24 Ukrainian sailors have been held by Russia. This is a premeditated act of aggression against Ukraine. Russia has been waging a war on Ukraine for over 4 years. Russia's actions have been condemned by all parties in Canada, in the United States, the EU, NATO, and other members of the international community. The Ukrainian Canadian Congress is calling on stronger sanctions against Russia, increasing our military assistance to Ukraine, immediately releasing the sailors and other Ukrainian citizens held by Russia, as well as increasing the NATO presence in the Black Sea and Sea of Azov. I'm very proud again that we have members of all parties in the Parliament here with us. I'm going to ask them to speak in order. Mr. Michael Levitt.
Hello. Yes. Thank you, York, for organizing this important event, and to the Ukrainian Canadian Congress for tirelessly working in support of strong Canada-Ukraine ties. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Shevchenko. From every party, we all stand in support and solidarity of the Ukrainian people in the face of Russian aggression against Ukraine. There is no excuse for Russia's acts of aggression in violation of international law. I firmly believe that Russia must immediately de-escalate. It's clear that thanks to Ukrainian restraint, that the Kerch Strait incident didn't escalate further. On Human Rights Day, when we celebrate the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 70 years ago, we must always stand up for those whose rights are denied and violated. For the 24 Ukrainian sailors and 70 of their fellow countrymen being unjustly held as political prisoners by Russia, this day is a cruel reminder of the violations of their human rights, of the rights of Crimean Tatars, and all those in Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk who are subject to a violent regime that would deny their right to self-determination. Canadians stand in unwavering support of Ukraine's sovereignty. As Minister Freeland said, our government unequivocally supports Ukraine and condemns Russia's illegal invasion and annexation of Crimea. Next year, Canada is hosting the 3rd Ukraine Reform Conference. Canada will continue to be an international leader in ensuring strong support for Ukraine. Canada will always be a steadfast partner of the Ukrainian people, and we will continue to work to hold Russia accountable for its unacceptable and illegal behavior. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank UCC for organizing today's events. Ambassador Shevchenko, thank you so much for all the work that you continue to do, and ensure that us here in Canada and the Parliament of Canada, the Government of Canada, are well aware of all the violations that are taking today. Now, I can tell you that today being the International Day of Human Rights, as Michael already pointed out, this is a situation in Ukraine that continues to document how Russia completely ignores the human rights that they signed on to underneath the UN Declaration of Human Rights over 70 years ago. We know that
are going to be on pavement. You guys don't have that mic.
Stay on that and we'll get something.
Okay. Well, all I can say is that Russia completely ignores the human rights in Ukraine, in Georgia, Moldova, as well as many of our allies around the world. All you have to do is think about the assassinations of Skripal in Salisbury just last year, or the assassination of Alexander Litvinenko in London about 10 years ago. So, and never mind the assassination attempt that they made on former Ukrainian President Shevchenko. So, when you look at the Crimean Tatars, their human rights continually being abused, the Russians shutting down freedom of press, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion on the Crimea Peninsula, their thuggery that we're experiencing in Donbass and stealing the human rights away of so many people in Luhansk and Donetsk because of the war that they're waging against Ukraine. And then we look at all the political prisoners, over 70 of them held right now in complete violation of the UN Declaration of Human Rights, as well as the 24 sailors that they illegally arrested in international waters when they captured 3 Ukrainian Navy vessels. That in itself is not just a violation of human rights, but a violation of the Geneva Convention and the violation of the UN Charter. And of course, we still, from time to time, remember Russia signed on to the Budapest Memorandum, which really is a document now of history because nobody seems to be respecting it in any way, shape, or form since Russia invaded, annexed, and illegally occupied Crimea. So ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to stand in solidarity. I know that my leader, Andriy, leader of the official opposition in Canada's Conservatives, is standing with Ukraine. He, along with 13 others of us, are banned from Russia because we have taken strong positions in the past against Russia's aggression and war and their violation of human rights against Ukrainians, Moldovans, Georgians, and of course everybody throughout Europe as they continue to try to destabilize NATO and destabilize the European Union. So thank you for being here. Thank you for organizing it. And on this day, where we're supposed to recognize and applaud human rights, let's remember that Russia continues to violate them without any second thought or providing any opportunity to correct their actions. Linda Luckham.
Thanks very much. I think it's really important that we put a face to the violations of human rights being perpetrated by Russia. As my colleagues have said, here it is 70 years since the nations of the world signed on to the Declaration of Human Rights, and we have this example of a complete violation by Russia against individual Ukrainian citizens. A lot of attention has been given to Oleg Sentsov, the filmmaker from Crimea, who simply stood up to say, "I am Ukrainian," and thrown in jail for 20 years. But there are 70 others that are being jailed by the Russians, and now we have this illegal detention of a Ukrainian ship legally passing, consistent to agreement between Russia and Ukraine, trying to make passage towards Ukraine to protect the rights of merchants going back and forth. That ship detained, and those 14 arrested. And so the faces mount. And so I want to thank UCC for bringing forward today so that you can see the faces of good Ukrainian citizens standing up for the rights to declare the fact that they are Ukrainian citizens. They're proud of being Ukrainian. They're proud of speaking Ukrainian, and to decry the actions of Ukraine in taking over Crimea, in attacking the eastern areas of Ukraine, and now forbidding the passage of merchants from Ukraine to build their economy. So I want to thank UCC, our fantastic ambassador to Canada from Ukraine, who travels across this country all the time, speaking up for the rights of Ukrainians. And I want to thank Ukrainian Canadians right across this country who continue to speak out and decry the actions of Russia against their sisters and brothers in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those powerful words to our members of Parliament. I would now like to invite Andriy Kostiuk, speaking on behalf of the Central Eastern European Council of Canada, which represents many communities, and he's going to bring a short message to us.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Central and Eastern European Council, as was mentioned, I also had the honor of speaking for the Latvian National Federation in Canada, and the Baltic Federation in Canada. Altogether, we represent about 4 million people, 4 million Canadians of our respective backgrounds. It's a shame that we have to be here the way we used to come up on Parliament Hill for many decades to protest the Soviet Empire. And now we are protesting once more a rogue regime which seems to be becoming the same as we used to fight against all those years. It's a cliche, but for the grace of God go we all. We support in solidarity the struggle of the Ukrainian people. We ask that the prisoners of conscience and prisoners that have been taken recently be released, and that we thank Canada for its leading role. We thank all our members of Parliament who are doing a great job, but we have to continue. It's not an easy one, and it's a shame that we have to mark Human Rights Day in this manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andriy. On behalf of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress National Office, on behalf of the Ukrainian Canadian community in Canada, I want to thank you, Ms. Duncan, Mr. Levitt, Mr. Bazan, for your personal unstinting support, for the support of your parties in the Commons, for the support of the Canadian Parliament to Ukraine over the years, especially now in this most difficult time where Ukraine is faced with a war. It's called a hybrid war. But we have to realize what hybrid war means. It means the illegal drafting of over 900 Ukrainian citizens in Crimea into the Russian army, a war crime. It means piracy on the high seas, the seizure of Ukrainian naval boats doing a peaceful transit through a sea that is supposed to be shared by both of them. It means the closure of churches in the Donbass. It means the murder of Baptist ministers in the Donbass. In Western Europe, as already been mentioned, we have massive financial support to extremist right-wing parties. We see political murders in Britain and other areas. To the south of us, we've seen what the influence of hybrid war means during elections. As Canadians, we reject the use of war as a settlement mechanism for international issues. We reject the use of war in general on principle. But in hybrid war, we're dealing with an undeclared war, whether we like it or not. We are in that war, and we are fighting that war, and we have to realize it. We have to reject fake news, we have to reject political lies, and we have to point out those that are working for foreign powers in order to disrupt our way of life. Lastly, I'd like to thank Ambassador Shevchenko for his continued work on behalf of the country of our forefathers. And Ambassador, do you have?
I'll just say thank you. On this chilling day, all these words make our hearts warmer. And on behalf of Ukraine, I would like just to say three things. First, thanks to everyone for this wonderful sign of solidarity. This helps us to restore peace, order, and justice in Ukraine. Second, through you members of Parliament, I would like to thank all the Parliament and the people of Canada, the firm and strong position of the Canadian government, and also the recent statements of the Conservatives and of the NDP. They really show this strong consensus across the party lines in the Canadian political class. And finally, I would like to thank Canada for very impressive international leadership on Ukraine. Throughout the G7 community, throughout the OSCE community, this is exactly that kind of leadership which the world needs from Canada. Thank you so much, and again, you help us to restore peace, justice, and freedom in our part of the world. Thank you so much.
So I'd like to now invite everyone who's here from the community to join us at the front. We're going to take a group picture. We are broadcasting this live on our Facebook channel, and we will be taking the group picture to send around the world to show Ottawa's solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Дуже дякую.
Somebody take one for me, please.
yes? Petra will put up Rostik's stuff on the Facebook so he'll be able to pull off shots himself. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for coming, guys. Okay. Like this?
Yeah, that's